Alright, so I've just got my proof copy of Dark Weird Stuff, Stories of Dark Fiction by myself, Mark Hodgetts, and I'll just give you a quick introduction to it. Nothing on that page of any great significance. There's a short thank you to my wife here. Thanks for believing in me when it would have been really easy not to. And then a table of contents with an introduction. Tin Can Man, which I think is one of my best stories. It's pure fantasy. Random Soul Audit, which is it's sort of a sci-fi dark fantasy piece about a bureaucracy being able to conduct audits on your past lives. Mitzi, which is it's probably somewhere between sci-fi and dark fantasy about people being or humanity uploading its consciousness to cyberspace. The Bunyip Hole, which is again dark fantasy, basically about a bunyip. Last Miracle, which is getting into post-apocalyptic worlds, so it's dark sci-fi. It's about a man who works miracles and coping in the hell that's left, I suppose. Rule of Tribute, which again I suppose is dark fantasy mixed with post-apocalypse, a long time in the future when people have gone back to living pretty simply. Crawler, which is dark fantasy, straight up dark fantasy about something from another world. The Trees, which is probably the closest thing I do to Lovecraft, I would think. I think it's probably inspired by Lovecraft somehow. It's about this haunted area of trees in a small country town. You'll Be Sorry, which is a story about a troublesome student. I think I may have been used as the role model for that one. Dusk in the Sunset Country, which is a really dark piece inspired by, of all things, a real story about an exorcism that went horribly wrong. It's not about exorcism, but it's pretty dark and it's pretty bizarre. The Way of the Triangle, which is probably the lightest piece here. It's a piece about the power of music, I guess. And Remembering Kira, which again is that dark fantasy horror type area. So I'm just going to read to you the introduction, and hopefully that does enough for you to want to buy the book, I suppose. I write weird stuff. What does that mean exactly? Would you be surprised if I told you that I don't know? Most of what I write has the element of horror, dark fantasy, or what would be described as a pessimistic science fiction. I don't set out to include these elements. They just squeak their way in. The story just comes out. Quite often it takes me to places that causes me to ask, where on earth did that come from? All too often I find those questions being asked when the story has taken a decidedly dark turn. Sometimes, if I'm being really honest, I frighten myself, not in the traditional Stephen King sense, but more from the point of view of, is there something wrong with me? Surely someone who has all their cups in the cupboard doesn't envisage a world where people are tortured for past sins of past lives, as they are in my story Random Soul Audit. And no one in their right mind would create the Mad Max-style holy man that is Radford in Last Miracle. But both of those stories are seriously weird and disturbingly dark. I like them a lot. Does that make me unstable? Will it mean that you are unstable if you enjoy those stories? I think not. I'm just a normal person who is trying to make sense of an increasingly crazy world. I suspect that you are no different. I don't enjoy gratuitous violence, and I'm willing to bet that you don't either. But the simple fact is that abuse of power, violence and cruelty are all part of the world that we live in. Without acknowledging the bad, we're never going to appreciate the many good things that we all experience and, I dare I say, take for granted. Exploring dark, weird stuff is for the most part pure escapism. But I'd argue that reading or writing dark, weird stuff allows us to peer into the depths from a safe vantage point from where we can gain a better appreciation of all that is good in the world. So please enjoy these stories for what they are. They are simple, dark, weird stories without hidden socio-political messages. I hope that they ultimately delight, disgust, inspire, tease and frighten you. They come from the heart. Enjoy. But before you do, let's talk about the spelling and grammar in this book. I was strongly advised to bend my knee and edit this book to conform to the standards of American English. I chose not to do that. I am an Australian writer. Sorry, not sorry. My stories are set in Australia. The characters are Australian, but they're still mostly human. I write in Australian English. I don't expect American or British authors to edit their books to accommodate the way I was taught. If you see what an S where you think that a Z should be, roll with it. And let's not even notice all those U's I've reinstated where they've been excommunicated by the Americans. Thanks for your support. Mark, Roval, Victoria, November 2022.